welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey and I'm here today to complete the buzzword readathon. The buzzword readathon is a readathon that is created and hosted by Kayla over at Books and Lala, and every year I try to complete it within the months that it's actually happening. As my pregnancy has been developing, I've become delayed in the amount of books that I need to read. So in order to solve this, I decided in one vlog, I'm going to hit all 4 of the remaining buzzwords that I need to hit. So the buzzwords that I was missing starts with September, and that was for senses. And that could be touch, taste, smell, sight, hearing, any other related words. For October, the buzzword had to do with relationships. So that could be titles that include a relation of any kind, sister, mother, brother, etc., etc. For November, the buzzword was only, and that is titles that only include the word only. And finally, for the month of December, the buzzword was holiday season words. So any titles that include holiday related words such as like Christmas, Hanukkah, Santa, holiday, Merry, stuff like that. So I will take you back to Kelsey about 2 weeks ago, where I started with September's buzzword, where I read Bias by Jennifer Eberhardt. Hello, I'm sure I've done a better introduction for this vlog, but I did want to come here and talk about Bias, which is the first book I'm reading for Lala's buzzwordathon. The buzzword for the month of September was like senses, and in Bias, in the subtitle, it's uncovering the hidden prejudice that shapes what we see, think, and do. So sight is a sense. That's why I chose this book. So I'm 58 pages in. Essentially what I've read so far is just like an introduction as to who Jennifer L. Eberhardt is and what work she does in order to explaining our unconscious biases, specifically working with police officers in the United States. So this was written in 2020, and it makes sense because a lot of confirmation bias, racial bias was occurring in 2020 with these shootings by police officers, the discussion about the militarization of police officers. And so far I am really enjoying this. You could tell that Jennifer L. Eberhardt is a professor. You could tell that she is also a speaker. The audiobook is really well done. Just the writing in general of this book is very easy to digest and get into. And so that's something I'm really appreciating about starting off this novel. I also just want to mention that with the rise of anti-intellectualism that's going on in the world right now, nonfiction that is easily accessible, easy to understand, and like just straight facts is really, really, really important for our world, and is something that needs to be pushed more or praised more for. Often articles, nonfiction books like this, textbooks, are written in a way that can feel intimidating for people, and being able to read something at a universally literary level is extremely important, especially with topics such as this. So I just want to add this point to like really clarify what I was trying to get at. I'm in part 2 now, and we are getting more into where we are currently, or in 2020, with these confirmation biases and what is going on in the world, and how we can utilize our knowledge and education in order to develop solutions for this. So very, very, very fascinating stuff, but obviously extremely important information that I am currently digesting, really enjoying this. I will probably come to you maybe when I read another like 100 pages or so, but I don't necessarily know how to update for nonfiction because it's not like there's a plot, you know? So I think I'm just gonna come back and like confirm basically if I'm liking this book or not, any problems I'm having or seeing with the argument that's being presented, but I don't think I will. And that's all I have for now. So I'm going to go back and continue to listen to the audiobook while I'm cooking my sweet potatoes. I'm going to make like a hashy type of dinner tonight and continue reading this probably. Hello, I'm just here to give a quick little update on Bias because I am now 50% of the way through. Absolutely loving this. I definitely think that this is a must-read nonfiction, not only because obviously the subject matter is incredibly important to read from. Dr. Eberhardt is really, really diving into her experiences with studying the social dynamics of biases and the way that we perceive the world, whether we consciously or subconsciously know it, while also tying in very interesting moments from like her life, which I always think makes for a really excellent nonfiction when not everybody is emotionally in-depth or critical thinkers enough in today's society to be able to read facts and just know that they are facts. Sometimes people need to relate to an individual in order to understand the issues that they are describing. And I think Dr. Eberhardt does just a really excellent job at tying in these things and showing that not only do these things happen to people that we subconsciously expect it to happen to, but also those that we deem educated, deem important. And I think that that's really crucial for individuals who have not exposed themselves to this type of literature, this type of in-depth knowledge. So I'm really, really loving this. It is so well written, and I think it's so important. And so I'm probably just going to continue listening to this and finishing it today. I'm currently uploading a video that should go live in about an hour. I'll leave it linked up above. It's my reading arcs. It was the video that came probably one or two videos before this one. I haven't decided yet my schedule next week. So I'm going to listen to this while I start getting my stroller ready. I need to undo it and check and make sure that everything's good for the stroller before we end up at the hospital. So that's it for this update. I will see you in a bit. Hello. So because it is a new day, and it's the first day of my maternity leave, I have nothing to do. I'm bored in my house. So I think what I'm going to do is go to a coffee shop and read a bit. I did finish Bias yesterday, so we'll go over that when I come back home. But I'm going to bring the next book I'm reading for this challenge, which is Of Woman Born, Motherhood as Experience and Institution by Adrienne Rich. I do have the audiobook for it. I think I'm going to bring my laptop. I don't know, I'm like down to like be back in university vibes, like just going to a fucking coffee shop and reading, you know? So I think I'm going to do that. I'm also going to order like a little snack while I'm there because I do have gestational diabetes, which is just diabetes that you get when you have the baby inside you, and I do have to eat more than I was normally eating before and added protein just to like kind of balance my blood sugars throughout the day. So I think I'm gonna do that. I'm really excited to just like get out of the house. All right, see ya. Hello, so I have some shumai here, a little cucumber salad, and I did want to go over my thoughts of Biased. I'll leave a picture here because I don't feel like getting it in the other room. I don't feel like anything that I said so far is any different from the way that I felt. Like I literally have no notes. I think this is one of the best like pieces of nonfiction that I've read on subconscious bias. I have a degree in anthropology and sociology, so I've read a lot of documents on unconscious bias and the way that we perceive the world and our innate biases that we have to grow from. And this is like one of the most like well-encompassing and best books on this subject matter. And I think that's because Eberhard turns it into like memoir. So it reads like that and you're very comfortable with her as the writer, as the author of this narrative, and then provides like just data that will continue to inform its readers with every page, but it's data that's completely undeniable. Like you look at this and you're like, okay, this is the way that the world works. We all have some sort of subconscious bias and we consciously need to work on that every day. And it was just so interesting to read from. And I really think that it's like a crucial read for everybody. I gave it 5 stars just because like this is literally one of the best pieces of nonfiction that I've read this year, probably within the last few years as well. So the next buzzword that I need to get to was for the month of October, and that was for some sort of relationship. Since I'm becoming a mom, I decided to pick one up about motherhood. So this is Of Woman Born, Motherhood as Experience and Institution by Adrienne Rich. And this was actually written in the 1970s, and it's been looked at and revised since then. So this edition had both an introduction and foreword that I also read, and now I'm within the second chapter. So it says I'm only 26 pages in, but I think I can confidently say I'm at least 50 pages in. And so far what we've looked at is just womanhood in regards to motherhood, how it affected our author, Adrienne Rich, throughout her life. So coming as a woman from the 50s, she didn't feel really, or consciously maybe, didn't realize that she would have had a choice perhaps not to have children, but did end up having 3. So this is really a look at her coming to terms with what motherhood means to feminism, what motherhood means in regards to her relationship with her body, with her understanding of feminism, especially early feminism that's coming out during this time, and then her relationship with motherhood to her very own children. And so I'm not too far in, but right now we're discussing like the relationship between a mother as a dominant figure who is a subdominant figure in society compared to a child who is the most minority, let's say, in the family structure. And I think that this is really fascinating. The chapter I'm on is the sacred calling. So obviously we're going to be looking at motherhood as this like perceived sacred calling for women, and that women feel like they need to be a mother. So I just expect to really enjoy this novel, and I really like how it's written. I'm going to say it's pretty similar to the last book, Bias, because it is both a memoir. This is more of a memoir, I would say, but looking at this author's relationship with motherhood, and then the relationship of motherhood with society as a whole. So I'm going to continue listening to this. I'll probably come update you when I'm like 50% of the way through, and we'll see how it's going.
To explain my thought process here, I wanted to include me eating the shumai, like Logan on TikTok eating his cucumbers, and I want to be brave and strong and include the slurping noises and be like, love this. I'm not brave enough, so you're getting this voiceover.
Hello, so a couple of things to get into this morning. First of all, I went to my 37-week doctor's appointment. All is well, all is chill, all is good. The doctor's appointment is next to one of my favorite used bookstores in Montreal called Encore Books. If you're in Montreal, I highly recommend visiting them. They always have a really excellent selection, and today was no different. I stumbled upon a gold mine. Okay, all the books I'm missing from the Wayward Children series that I have not bought because they are so expensive in Canada. Like, each of these books, a novella size, is $31, and I will not be spending that money. I'm sorry, but I found all of them mint, pristine condition for $7 each. And so obviously I jumped on that. I had to explain to my boyfriend, like, you don't understand the gold mine we've stopped on. So I got the ones I'm missing, which is Across the Green Grass Fields, Where the Drowned Girls Go, Lost in the Moment and Found, and Mislaid in Parts Half Known, which is the new release. Whoever donated these to Encore Books on Sherbrooke, I love you. And then my last update is that I'm almost halfway through of Woman Born. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my feelings so far, which is that I can understand the perspective Adrienne Rich is coming into this book with, which is obviously, as being a mother in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, an angry time for her. And I can agree that societally, the patriarchy has not changed since then. I completely understand where we are coming from. Like, I've just come off of the chapter called The Kingdom of the Fathers, which is talking about how the man will always still have the power because he has impregnated the woman. And so there is this dynamic in the household that becomes like the man over the woman over the child. And then we're moving into the next chapter, which is the primacy of the mother. And this is talking about, would we be able to ever truly have a matriarchal society in contrast to the patriarchy? So I do think that the conversations that Adrienne Rich is having is interesting, but they have not been adapted since then in like 2024, let's say, where yes, obviously with the election that just happened in the United States, clearly has not changed. And Adrienne Rich, coming from the US, would still see these problems daily. I'm not tooting my own horn because Canada is really not that far off. We might elect a Timu version of Donald Trump. But I just see, at least personally in my life, a difference between the way that me and my partner work together versus what is experienced outwardly in society, even though these problems still remain. So it's just a minor critique that I have, but I understand that I'm coming from a more privileged spot in motherhood than, like, let's say a lot of people would be. So basically that's the gist right now. I'll probably come update you either maybe a bit more into the book or at the end of the book, just because I don't exactly know how to review nonfiction. It's a bit weird for me, but I will be continuing to read this now. So I did finish Of Woman Born yesterday night, and I'm just coming to you now much later in the day. It's about 5 p.m. to give you a review, my feelings, what I thought about this. So I think it's clear that while I do have some reservations of Rich's overall argument and the more like outdated evidence that she uses to present, I cannot deny that this was a really like well done and interesting book to read. Like with Biased, I will always appreciate a nonfiction book that looks at the personal of the author and then the facts which they use to base the discussion of which they are having. And I think that Rich did a pretty good job throughout the novel doing so. Though this was originally written within the 1970s, I think it's really interesting and sad that most of her discussions surrounding the patriarchal society of which we abide by that affects motherhood and women, and obviously I think with more knowledge, Rich would have included more gendered minority persons, all of that within the home. While there's still like many outdated moments in the novel, and she really is trying her best, like she was trying to include other LGBTQIA plus type of representation within the book. At its core, this book still to this day is showing the lengths at which we still need to get to have a more solid and equal footing in the home for people who take on motherhood. The way that Rich weaved her personal feelings throughout the book on beginning her motherhood in the 1950s and where she was mentally when she was writing this book was really honest and reflective. And I did overall have just a great time listening to this. So I gave it 4 stars. I'm happy I read it. I'm definitely happy I read it before I gave birth because it definitely gave me some stuff to think about, which I thought was really interesting and just a well done experience overall. Now I'm going to jump into something a little less heavy-handed, and I'm going to be reading a romance book. So for the month of November, the buzzword was only, and I was scouring my shelves for like a really easy book to read for this prompt, and I realized on my Kindle I had Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese. I read Chloe Leese's like Mistletoe Motive, I think it was called, a couple of years ago. Really enjoyed it because I just loved her writing style and specifically the representation that she puts in her books. So I think Only When It's Us, the little bit that I've read so far, is going to have the same type of appeal to me. So we have our 2 main characters. The first one is Willa, and Willa is like this really feisty and brash star soccer player at their university, and right now she is not doing so well in a business math class. So the teacher tells her to go sit next to this boy named Ryder. Ryder will be able to provide her with notes, and when he ignores her in class, she develops this like deep-seated hatred for him because she's so brash. Ryder has no idea that she asked for these questions. So therefore, Ryder and Willa don't like each other and they don't know why. Their story is immediately starting with miscommunication, which I think I don't like at the ends of novels, but I'm kind of jamming with it here a little bit because it would make sense that they don't really know each other. So like, why would they communicate effectively, you know? And I am hoping that it's like a little bit of a grumpy romance because I think that that could be really fun. And I like grumpy romances in general. So having 2 characters that are grumpy, I think could be fun to read from. I've already started it. I'm in the third chapter, but Ryder's first chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and continue listening to that, and I'll come update you when I can. So even though I just spoke to you, a revelation happened in chapter 3. So basically the like anger meet cute happens because Willa tries to ask Ryder for notes in class and he ignores her fully. And so she gives him like an evil look and he doesn't really understand why. So they both believe that they both hate each other for no reason. That's the miscommunication. Knowing what I know about Chloe Leese and knowing that she loves to include representation in her novels, I felt Ryder definitely didn't hear her for a reason. He's not ignoring her for no reason like she originally thought. Like she thinks he's like sort of ignoring her on purpose because like she's a soccer star and like needs notes and like, I don't know. She's like making it up in her head, obviously. And I was like, Ryder maybe uses a hearing aid, or he wasn't using it at that time. He couldn't exactly understand what she was saying to him, something along those lines. And Ryder's first chapter basically confirms this. He uses a hearing aid. Because of this, he can no longer play soccer either. So maybe there is a sort of resentment towards Willa that she's this like rising star. That was an interesting like little revelation at the beginning of the novel, and I'm interested to see how it unfolds once Willa knows. So that's my update for now. Hello, so this is just a quick little update to let you know that I'm about 35% of the way through Only When It's Us. I'm really enjoying this. I really like Willa and Ryder as main characters because I think they're similar enough in their like stubbornness that just makes them work. I can see how Willa could be a more annoying character because she is more reactionary than Ryder is, but I just really like the way they work. Like Ryder has patience for her and she has patience for him, and she like really works hard to take the time to like understand what he's trying to express. And I don't know, like I'm just really loving it. I just got off of a chapter where Ryder went to go like he didn't really save her, but he went to go like get Willa at the club because she was clearly intoxicated and he was worried about like other men taking advantage of her, and so he like brought her home and he just like put her to bed. They almost kissed. The sexual tension was crisp. I loved it. And it's like coinciding at the same time with writer trying to be okay with using like a hearing aid and using his voice. I don't know. I think it's so sweet. I'm really, really enjoying it. So I'm going to continue listening to this while I put some of my baby's clothes in a laundry basket because I want to wash like the first 3 to 6 months of his clothes. I didn't know you had to do this. So that's something that we have to do tonight before we go to the hospital because we have to bring him his 2 onesies. Maybe I'll show you. I don't know if people care about this, okay? But like, I'm a new mom. These are the onesies I plan to bring to the hospital. So this one that has a little sun, I think is so cute. And then this one, that's little elephants. So those will be his first onesies that we wash. We also have to bring some mittens. So I have to bring those and wash them as well. His little hat and some socks because it is winter time that I'm giving birth. So that's what I'm up to right now. And I'll continue listening to this smutty book while I get my child's clothes ready. Hello, so I got to the 65% mark in Only When It's Us. Still really loving it. I don't know if it's pregnancy hormones, but like this book is making me cry. They're just so cute and I think I'm really, really vibing with like a grumpy romance. I really like frenemies. I think it reminds me a lot of my relationship with my partner. So I think that that's potentially why it's making me cry. I'm also like, you know, feeling the feels because I'm like, me and my partner met 10 years ago when we were 20 and stupid and dumb. And now we're having a child, which is just crazy to me. And I think that that's why it's been like very emotional for me. But I am still really enjoying it. There is still this like bout of miscommunication between the two of them involving Willa's mother, and I just wish that writer would talk to her about it. Like, I know he struggles because he's shy and he doesn't want to use his voice, and it's like hard for him to get her in order to talk to her about this like really serious subject. So like, I totally get that. I just wish that it wasn't there. Like, that's the only thing. It's like, I know in order to move the plot forward this has to happen, but I just wish like they were able to communicate a bit better. I think it would have really worked out for them. So I'm going to continue listening to it. I'll probably only come and update you when I'm done the book, which I definitely think I will have it done by the end of today. So that's really exciting. I'm getting like my TBR books off before the child comes into the world. Hello, so I have 2 updates for you. The first of which, Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson, the new release in the Stormlight Archive, came to me today. I'm very excited. Have I finished my reread of Oathbringer? No. Have I read Rhythm of War even? No. But I will always order a hyped book of a series that I am in the middle of regardless. Oh, this is Gorgina. I'm so excited to get to this. Will it be next year? Definitely. But who cares? Oh, I can't wait to read this. Oh my gosh. Anyways, the main update I have is that I finished Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese. And like I predicted, I knew Chloe Leese was not going to steer me wrong. And after A Mistletoe Motive, which was a 5 stars for me, I didn't really expect anything less. I was scared to be disappointed, but I didn't expect to be disappointed. I feel like she just writes really wonderful romances. Her characters always feel incredibly real. And like I said, maybe it says a lot about me, but when a stubborn, hot-headed lady finds love, I have to swoon. I felt like this novel had a lot of heart. You can really see Ryder and Willa's relationship develop and how much they help each other like grow and open up. And of course their banter is fun too because they're both the grumpy in this type of relationship, even though like Ryder's more of a cinnamon roll, I guess. Something I'll always appreciate about Leese is that she includes disability visibility within her books. And while I cannot speak on behalf of those who are hard of hearing, it felt inclusive and was never really used, what seemed to me anyways, was never really used in a harmful way. The writing was really bantery and playful. And I think if you like sarcasm and hotheads, you're going to like this book. I will put here just a trigger warning for loss of a parent due to cancer, just because it is something that one of the characters goes through. And I really do feel like it's intense. It feels very emotional, very intense. And I think if were you to have gone through that, you might be triggered by it. So I just want to put that out there that that's what it is. That's the situation. Now we can move into the last book that I'm reading for this vlog. which is Krampus, the Yule Lord by Brahm. This is for December's buzzword, which was like holiday themed. So either Krampus or Yule works for this. And this is following a, like, I don't know if he's washed up. He's a struggling songwriter named Jesse. And on Christmas Eve, he witnesses 7 little men chasing around a man in a red suit. And when this man tries to escape on a sleigh of reindeer, there's a crash, a lot of screaming. Jesse is sort of like thrown into the arms of Krampus. If you come from like a culture that's Catholic based, today is Nick Day. It's like St. Nicholas's Day, which is Santa Claus. So I think it's the perfect time to be starting this like spooky, Krampusy Santa Claus retelling, which I think is really fun. While I am putting away my son's 0 to 3 month clothes that we just washed into his drawers, I'm going to be listening to this. Hello, so last night I got to page 100 in Krampus. I'm not loving it as much as I thought I would, but I'm trying to like damper my expectations because I don't want to hate this book because I didn't have any expectations for this book. Like in reality, I didn't have any expectations and I need to stop. I've never read from Brahm before, never read like a Krampus story, so I just need to fucking calm down. What is making me not like this book, I think, as much was the whole beginning portion of the novel lacking some of this like magical mystery. And Brahm's writing style really reminds me of like Stephen King, yes, but more like Joe Hill. And it's just like these like down on their luck men who swear a lot and want to kill each other and disrespect their wives. Then there's Santa Claus and then there's Krampus. So the beginning portion was not appealing to me. I was like, I don't care about this deadbeat dad. I don't care about this like really misogynistic battle of the dicks that's going on about Jesse's ex-wife. Like I did not like this entire section until the very end when Jesse, unfortunately, due to the fact that he has Santa Claus's magical bag, is persuaded by Krampus's minions to bring the bag to Krampus, and he's getting sort of along with them, and we're learning a little bit about how the minions came together to work for Krampus, and we're also learning a little bit about Krampus's mythological, like as a mythological person as well. So like that's been interesting. I'm hoping that because we're out of Jesse's like crime syndicate lifestyle, it'll get more interesting and we'll get more into the arguments between Santa Claus and Krampus. That's what I'm waiting for. That's what I want to see. So I am going out for coffee now with one of my friends. I'm going to probably pick up something for dinner, like maybe a pre-made salad or whatever, just to help me out. But I'm going to be making like meatball burgers. And then, yeah, and then I'll probably continue listening to Krampus later. Hello, it's the end of another day. It's time to do some updates because my boyfriend left for hockey. So I will be continuing where I'm at in Krampus. But first, today we had the final like doctor's appointment before I give birth. Everything's good. Everything's swell. He's thriving. He's cooking. He is 15% bigger than the average baby. So pray for me. It's not the largest, but... And every time we go to the hospital, we go to my favorite used bookstore on the island, which is Encore Books. I featured in quite a few of my vlogs this year just because I'm always there, because I'm always at the hospital. And I managed to find Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation by MXTX. And this has been like all the rage online. And I've been so curious about it this entire year. And I really, really wanted to try it out, test it out, and see if I like it. I really don't know what it's about. I know nothing about this. Wei Wuxian was once one of the most outstanding men of his generation, a talented and clever young cultivator who harnessed martial arts, knowledge, and spirituality into powerful abilities. But when the horrors of war led him to seek out a new power through demonic cultivation, the world's respect for his skills turned to fear, and his eventual death was celebrated throughout the land. Years later, he awakens in the body of an aggrieved young man who sacrifices his soul so that Wei can exact revenge on his behalf. Though granted a second life, he is not free from his first, nor the mysteries that appear before him now. Yet this time, he'll face it all with the righteous and esteemed Lan Wangji at his side, another powerful cultivator whose unwavering dedication and shared memories of their past will help shine a light on the dark truths that surround them. I've never read from MXTX before, so like, look at this artwork. It's gorge. I'm just very excited. I'm so excited that I found this today, and there were multiple volumes of it, but I decided like not to be silly and just pick up one volume, see if I even like it before I dedicate all my money to an entire collection. Last night I did get to page 200 of Krampus the Yule Lord, and I'm definitely enjoying it a lot more. This is specifically because we are diving into Krampus's lore and Krampus's relationship with Santa Claus, who, without getting into spoilers, turns out to also be someone else. So he's still Santa. I was like a little confused about what was going on. He's still Santa Claus, but originally he's someone else. And this someone else is also enemies with Loki. And it seems like Krampus was either a minion of Loki, is a version of Loki, something in the Asgardian realm of possibilities. They are at very intense odds with one another because Santa Claus trapped Krampus, and Krampus is like, I am the actual Yule Lord. I am the one that celebrates Christmas. Santa Claus is a fucking phony. You don't know really who to believe because obviously like Krampus is scary and he controls the people who serve him. But like kind of Santa does as well. It's a very interesting dynamic. I'm not enjoying it as much as I thought initially that I would, just because I don't think I'll ever really enjoy like older male deadbeats as main characters, and that's what Jesse is essentially. But now he is in cahoots with Krampus and they are working together to take down Santa Claus. So we're gonna see how it goes. I will not update you until I am done. So I have about, let me see how many pages. I have about 150 pages left. So while I don't think I can finish it tonight, I can definitely finish it by tomorrow and like finalize this vlog. Hello. I wanted to let you know that I did finish Krampus this morning. People are coming to clean our pipes in all of the condos today, but they don't know what time they'll be coming. So I don't want to like start recording like you know, getting all dressed up and like recording the intro and the ending if they're going to interrupt me. So I just want to let you know I'm done, and I will probably come back to you with final thoughts way later. Completed it! Welcome to the end of the vlog. I can finally give you my summary for Krampus because my pipes were cleaned. That has a very big sexual innuendo, and I literally mean my kitchen sink pipes. So at this point, I've sat and thought about my reading for this book for quite a while, and I think my feelings have been pretty clear. Like, I really ended up enjoying how this book ended. And maybe it makes me lame, but I loved that this was less a horror novel and more like a mythological retelling that had some spooky connotations and still embraced the spirit of Christmas. And maybe it's because it's the Christmas season, but I really enjoyed that. That being said, however, and I said this in this vlog, I found the first half of this book to be extremely slow. And it was almost to the point that I was literally considering DNFing this book. But at the same time, I have so many thoughts about this book. Like, I really feel like this is a book that you can read and write a lot of thesis papers on. There's the very real writing style, which is similar to King and Joe Hill, which I spoke about here, and how it uses rural poor America to set its horror because the villains are of lower class. Like, there's definitely a classism aspect to this. There's also Krampus and the relationship to nature versus Krampus's relationship, or Santa's relationship rather, to capitalistic and religious gains. With that, with Santa's relationship to religion, there's also this like good versus evil debate, like what is morally good, what is morally evil, and appearances and stuff like that, obviously because Krampus literally looks like the devil. So I can't necessarily put all of these ideas into like a short review because I do think that this novel is touching upon a lot of really interesting subjects. Honestly, I feel like I would have rather read a non-fiction novel by Brom that's discussing Krampus and his roles within all of these collected issues, especially after reading his afterword. Like, his afterword was so fascinating and so well done. He really like gives you a brief synopsis of Krampus's history, and I loved that part. Aside from that, I think one of my main issues also comes with the main character of Jesse. I think he's really difficult to get behind in the first half, and I like really couldn't care like what was happening to him at all. However, when he starts helping Krampus and working amongst Krampus's minions to save the Yuletide, I was completely in. I feel like his character really developed there. And lastly, while I would still recommend this book overall for the story, I was a little disappointed by the amount of artwork that's in here. Like, for the amount of people praise Brahms artwork. I thought it would be more heavily integrated into the novel, so that also left me a bit disappointed, but I did give this 3.5 stars because it pulled me in the second half. And that completes the final buzzword for the year. So I completed the challenge, I completed my goal, and let's go over the books read in this vlog just to summarize them. So the first book for September's buzzword, which was senses, I chose Biased, Uncovering the Hidden Prejudice That Shapes What We See, Think and Do by Jennifer L. Eberhardt. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely adored it, loved it, was fantastic. For October's buzzword, which was relationships, I read Of Women Born Motherhood as Experience and Institution by Adrienne Rich. And for this, I gave 4 stars. For November's buzzword, which was only, I read Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese. And I also gave that 4 stars. And then, of course, for December's holiday themed buzzword, I read Krampus the Yule Lord by Brahm, and I gave this a 3.5 stars. Overall, I would consider this a pretty successful vlog. I love reading for the buzzwordathon. I love taking part in it every year, and it honestly would have killed me if I wouldn't have completed it this year before I gave birth, so I'm really, really happy I was able to do so. If you participated in the buzzwordathon this year, please let me know what your favorite buzzword was and what you read for it. If you've read any of the books that I read in this vlog, also let me know down below what you thought about them. Did you like them? Did you hate them? Let me know. And if you would like to follow me on any of my other social medias, I do leave a link down below to my Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram if you would like to follow me there. And of course, because it is the end of the video, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. I tell you every time, but it does wonders for my channel. It makes me feel really good. And that's it. I never know how to end these things, so I will see you next time, hopefully. Okay, bye!